Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here. In today's video, we're going to take a look at the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Thursday, August the 6th. We got a 5-game slate on both sites. We'll break down this 5-gamer position by position like we always do. I'll give you guys some early core plays, some guys I see that I really like looking at this like the night before. This is our first slate where we have a lot of big injuries we're going to need to watch. Russell Westbrook popped up on the injury report. He is questionable. Jamal Murray, didn't play on Wednesday. The Denver Nuggets are on a back-to-back, so we'll have to see if Jamal Murray plays. Malcolm Brogdon also questionable. Jimmy Butler is out. Goran Dragic is questionable. So a ton of injuries, that we'll have to watch heading into Thursday's slate. I'll give you guys my early thoughts. I'll try and talk about, each injury. If I think this guy's out, what I'm going to do. If the guy plays, what I'm going to do. I'll break that down at each position as we go. But we'll start off at point guard. Just before we do get started, guys, I would appreciate it if you would hit that like button down below. Make sure you subscribe as well. If you are new here, we've been getting a lot of subscribers recently. I cannot thank you guys enough for all the support you've been showing me on these NBA videos. My NBA videos have been doing insanely well. So thank you to everyone who's been watching. I do appreciate it. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, click the notification bell, so that way you get notified every time I upload and you'll never miss out on any of my new videos. And if you would like, I do have more content available on Patreon. I post these videos on YouTube pretty much every day for you guys. But if you want more from me, you can see all that I have to offer. Link down in the description over on Patreon. Check out my articles, my updated core plays, our Discord chat you can join. So all that's linked down below in the description. But yeah, let's go ahead and look at point guard today. So we got 3 options here, 10K and above on DraftKings. You got Luka at 11.3, Harden at 10.7, and then LeBron at 10.5. So Luka is coming off a monster game against the Kings. He played 44 minutes, had 83 DraftKings points. That was an overtime game, but still, even at the end of regulation, Luka had already crushed. He had I believe 70 DK points after the end of regulation. Put up a monster triple-double, 34 points, 20 rebounds, 12 assists. We know this is the kind of upside that Luka has. This is not the best spot, though, against the Clippers. The Clippers, I don't think anyone in this league can stop Luka one-on-one, but if the Clippers have the best chance to, they have Paul George, they have Kawhi Leonard. Both guys are elite defenders. I think they can make life tough for Luka here. At 11.3, I don't know if he's going to be a priority for me on this slate. I know he's been playing insanely well. He's just playing like he always does. Luka's one of the best players in the league. I just don't know if he's going to be a priority for me, especially, we have to watch the status of Russell Westbrook. If Russell Westbrook winds up out, which I don't know if we're going to get that news before lock, which is kind of makes it tough because this is the 9 o'clock game, the last game on the slate. You don't know if we're going to get this Westbrook news. If he's out, James Harden is going to be in probably every single lineup I make. We've seen, the numbers without Russell Westbrook on the floor. James Harden is an absolute monster. I'll pull up the numbers just real quick so you guys can see. You probably already know this, but just with Westbrook off the floor, it's a pretty big sample size. Harden's played. He played a ton during the regular season with Westbrook off whenever, Westbrook would take a break. 925 minutes with Westbrook off the floor, 44% usage rate, averaging 1.77 fantasy points per minute, 45.5 assist percentage. Literally just like elite numbers. If Westbrook's out, I'm going to just be jamming in Harden. I honestly think, even if Westbrook plays, I still think Harden's a really good option at 10.7. The price tag came down a little bit, I believe. Yeah, he was 11.3 on the last slate. Really disappointed against Portland. That was a spot where I liked him a lot, a really good matchup. This isn't the best spot here against the Lakers, but James Harden's just so good, man. He gets so much usage, such a productive player, and there's potential that Westbrook might be out today, which would just make me like Harden even more. One concern, though, he's not getting the massive minutes that he was getting during the regular season. They were playing Harden almost 40 minutes a night. He's been down to about 32 to 34 minutes. I believe right now the Rockets do have the 4 seed, but there are some teams behind them that could potentially catch them. So I feel like the Rockets, still want to win games, still need to win games. So far they're 2-1 in the bubble. I'm expecting, Harden to play his full minutes, whether that's 34 or 38. I don't really know. I'd have to guess it's probably 34. But I still like him at 10.7. Between him, Luka, and LeBron, I think I'd give the edge to Harden over the 3, especially if Westbrook's out. Harden would be so far ahead of the 3 if Westbrook's out, especially at his price. When Westbrook's not on the floor, Harden should be 12K plus, So if there's a chance Westbrook sits, I think you can just play Harden anyway. So, say, we don't get this Westbrook news till late in the night, like 8:30. Maybe we get the news like 30 minutes before game time. You never really know. Say you play Harden in your lineup and then Westbrook winds up playing. It's not like you're, panicking. It's not like Harden's going to be a bad play. I think it would definitely be like risky though to play Westbrook. Like if you have Westbrook in your lineup going into that late night game and then he gets ruled out, like who are you going to pivot to? I don't think there's really anybody you would be able to pivot to. Like you would have to play Robert Covington if you had Westbrook in your util. So that might be risky to play Westbrook if he's still questionable. We'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, talking about these three guys, 10K and above, Harden's definitely my favorite option. And if Westbrook's out, he's going to be by far my favorite option. But then other guys, we got, Lillard at 9,700 against Denver. I don't know if this is a slate where I'm going to be going to Lillard. It's not the best spot against Denver. Pretty good defensive team, a team that plays at a very slow pace. I think there's just other guys I'd rather go to. Honestly, I think if Westbrook plays, I like him more for $700 less. I think that price tag on Westbrook is very appealing. Price dropped down a little bit. He was 9,400 on the last slate, down to 9K today. One thing I forgot to note is that the Lakers are on a back-to-back. This is the second half of their back-to-back. Right now, as I'm recording this video, the Lakers and Thunder game just started. We got word, I think it was a couple days ago, like Tuesday, that they're planning to play both LeBron and AD on this back-to-back. We'll have to see if that actually comes true, but for now I'm assuming LeBron and AD play, even though it is a back-to-back. It will be interesting to see if they maybe limit their minutes on Wednesday's game. I'll be able to see that after I record this video, and I'll be able to check the box score. But yeah, let's go ahead and look at other point guards. So two big injuries to watch here in the mid-range. Jamal Murray, did not play Wednesday. He's still listed as out on Draftkings, but we'll have to just wait and see what his status is for Thursday's game. I mean, if I had to guess, I would say he probably remains out just because he's been out all these games, before. I'm just going to keep assuming he's out until he winds up playing. And then Malcolm Brogdon, another guy that popped up on the injury report, questionable with a neck injury. Something we're obviously going to need to keep an eye on. Luckily, this is the 4 o'clock game, one of the two 4 o'clock games, so we will have that Brogdon news before lock. Ricky Rubio for 6,600 I think is interesting. That price tag is pretty low. Rubio is someone we always see around 7K, 7,200, 7,300. Price dropped down a little bit to 6,600. Rubio is still a guy, that has 40-plus point upside. Never feels like someone I have to play, especially when, he's appropriately priced. But we are getting a little bit of a discount on him today off of what he normally is. So I did want to mention him at least. Goran Dragic, that's a big injury we need to watch today. So we already know that Jimmy Butler's out. Jimmy Butler's not going to play. Last game with Butler out, Goran Dragic, limited time. I think he got hurt with like 2 or 3 minutes left in the game. Played 28 minutes, had 31 DraftKings points with Butler out. I mean, when Jimmy Butler's off the floor, Goran Dragic, he sees a big bump in his usage rate. He averages over a fantasy point per minute with Butler off the floor. If Dragic plays today, I'm going to have a lot of interest in him. If he's out, that's going to make their, backcourt even more thin. Guys like Kendrick Nunn, Tyler Hero would become excellent plays, in my opinion, because, they would get, like, all the guard minutes. So that's a big injury to watch, is the status of Dragic. If Brogdon were to sit, I think Aaron Holiday at 4,800 would become very appealing. So Monte Morris is someone I like a lot. Like I said, I'm assuming that Jamal Murray does not play again, and I'm just going to keep assuming he's out until he winds up playing. Morris had a pretty good game. Wednesday, last time I checked, that game was about to be over between the Spurs and Nuggets, and I think Morris had like 26 fantasy points with like 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. So he was on pace to do really well, hit value on Wednesday's slate. I like him again here on Thursday. He's still really, really cheap on Yahoo. I think that's where he's the most appealing. He's still only $11 over on Yahoo, just $1 off the minimum. Without Jamal Murray, if he does remain out, Monte Morris is going to get all the point guard minutes. Played 39 minutes against OKC. I think he was on pace to play about that, in Wednesday's game last time I checked. This is a fantastic spot as well against Portland. Big-time pace-up spot here for the Nuggets. Blazers playing at the 12th fastest pace in the league. In terms of defensive rating, they're also one of the worst defensive teams in the league, 27th in defensive rating. Great spot here for Monte Morris. Great spot for the Nuggets. There's multiple Nuggets that I like today, and Morris is definitely one of them. Now, if Jamal Murray winds up playing, then we can obviously pivot off of Morris. We could go to like maybe Aaron Holiday, or if Goran Dragic plays, we could plug him in there without Jimmy Butler. So I'll definitely be watching that news, obviously. This is, one of the late night games, so not sure if we'll have that news before lock. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But with Jimmy Butler out, someone I really like is Kendrick Nunn. He burned me on the last slate. I really like Jimmy Butler on the last slate, and then he got ruled out, so I went to target Kendrick Nunn. I thought Kendrick Nunn was a really good play with Butler out, and he was really disappointing. Only played 16 minutes, just had 6 Draftkings points. I mean, he just looked terrible. He's been pretty bad in their 3 games so far in the bubble, just 22, 16, and 16 minutes. But with the potential that maybe Goran Dragic is out as well, like, Kendrick Nunn is going to have to play 30 minutes. If the Heat are without Butler and Dragic, I mean, like, there's no path for Kendrick Nunn not to play 30 minutes, because I think Dragic and Hero are like the only 2 guards off the bench that actually get run. I don't know if they would bring, like, I don't even know who they have on the roster that they could maybe use to replace Dragic's minutes. Let me just check their guards real quick. So obviously Duncan Robinson gets minutes, Iguodala gets minutes, but he's more of like a wing player. So yeah, I would think like a ton of the guard minutes are going to go to Hero and Nunn, and then obviously they could play like Duncan Robinson at the 2. But yeah, I think if Dragic is out along with Butler, we already know Butler's out, but if Dragic is out too, I love Kendrick Nunn. He's going to be a top play for me. He's so cheap on Draftkings at 4,100. He's also incredibly cheap on Yahoo. He's only $12 over there. I know he's been really bad so far, but the opportunity should be there today without Butler, and the minutes should be there, especially if Dragic sits again. Really like Kendrick Nunn at 4,100 and $12 on Yahoo. I think he's a really great value on both sites. But yeah, I think that's kind of what I'm looking at for point guard value plays. For cheap options, I don't think there's really any punt plays like below 4K that we could maybe target. So yeah, I guess let's go ahead and move on to shooting guard now. We'll take a look at this position. So at shooting guard, you obviously have James Harden, who we talked about. I like a lot today, and if Westbrook's out, I'm going to like him even more. Jimmy Butler, a big injury here. He's out. Will Barton didn't play Wednesday. I'm just going to assume he's out again. Looking in the mid-range, though, at shooting guard, I mean, like Victor Oladipo's 5,500. You see that price tag and you think, man, Oladipo's cheap, but like he just hasn't been great for fantasy. So far through 2 games in the bubble, 28, 26 Draftkings points. He had that big game right before the break against Boston where he put up 47, but ever since coming back from injury, Oladipo really hasn't been like the same player, the same dominant, high-usage player that he used to be. So even at 5,500, I doubt I really go to him today. Obviously you could play Kendrick Nunn here. I think Duncan Robinson with Jimmy Butler out makes plenty of sense at 5K. Duncan Robinson, not normally a guy I think to play, but whenever Butler's out, I definitely have interest in Robinson. And with Butler out last game, Robinson did have a pretty good game, played 29 minutes, had 31 Draftkings points. He's going to shoot threes, and that's something he should be able to do here against the Bucks. I know the Bucks were a team that allowed a lot of three-pointers. They play at a really fast pace. So I do like the spot quite a bit for Duncan Robinson, especially with no Butler. I think at 5K, he's pretty interesting. I think Aaron Holiday, if Malcolm Brogdon were to sit, is pretty interesting. But even with Brogdon playing last game, Aaron Holiday still started. He played 34 minutes, had 23 Draftkings points. I believe he started, if I'm not mistaken. I think they went with Brogdon. Yeah, I think they went Brogdon, Holiday, and then Oladipo played the 3, but honestly, I'm not exactly sure on that. I think Aaron Holiday still started last game, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I guess I could look that up real quick. I don't want to give you guys bad information, so let me just check that real quick. Just make sure Aaron Holiday started last game. So let's see. We'll go to the box score right here. So yeah, they did start Aaron Holiday. So they went with Brogdon, Holiday, Oladipo, Warren, and Miles Turner. Even if Brogdon plays, I'm assuming Holiday still starts. I would prefer Brogdon to be out because whenever Holiday, plays without Brogdon, whenever he gets to run point guard, he is a more productive player. He would be interesting to me at 4,800. I think I'd still prefer someone like Kendrick Nunn for cheaper. If Dragic were to play, I would prefer Dragic for 5K. But still definitely going to have my eye on Aaron Holiday as a value. Gary Trent as well as a value you could look to. Just getting huge minutes off the bench right now. The Blazers are running an incredibly tight rotation. I mean, they're literally playing like 7 or 8 guys right now. Gary Trent, 34, 35 minutes last 2 games. Never know what the production's going to look like from this guy, but at 4,400, getting 34, 35 minutes off the bench, I think he's someone you could look to as a cheap value. And then obviously Tyler Hero, I'm going to like a lot if Dragic is out. I think even with Dragic, even if Dragic plays, I still have interest in Hero. Hero played 22 minutes last game against Boston with Jimmy Butler out and had 22 Draftkings points. Again, Milwaukee, they struggle to three-point shooters. They allow a lot of three-point attempts. They play at a really fast pace. So this game does set up well for, Tyler Hero's skill set. So at 3,600, I think he looks like a really good value if you're going cheap here. Iguodala as well you could consider. Iguodala got big minutes last game with Butler out, 31 minutes, 28 DraftKings points. He is still very affordable at 3,300. So a lot of value from the Heat today. And if Dragic sits, I mean, there's going to be even more potential value. So definitely going to be a team that, I look to target. But let's go ahead and move on to small forward now. So at small forward, looking at guys we haven't talked about, Kawhi Leonard, 8,700. That price tag is really starting to come down. He is really affordable on DK. But still, the upside he hasn't shown the upside yet. Through 3 games in the bubble, 45, 42, and 42 DraftKings points. Like, we haven't gotten that big Kawhi game where he goes for like 55, 60. I don't know if that's going to be the Kawhi. Maybe we'll see that Kawhi in the playoffs. For right now, I just don't know if he's going to be a guy I feel like I ever have to play. Like, Paul George, is playing much better right now. Paul George was really struggling during the regular season, but he seems to be fully healthy right now, taking usage away from Kawhi. PG's been playing just as well as Kawhi, and, he's almost $1,000 cheaper. So I'd probably lean PG over Kawhi if I had to choose one of the two. I don't feel like either guy are going to be like core plays for me today. TJ Warren, we need to talk about him. Just continues to dominate. Last 3 games so far in the bubble, he's been, you could argue that he's been like the most impressive, for sure, he's been the most impressive player in the bubble. Played 41, 40, and 38 minutes the last 3 games, 70, 69, and 49 DraftKings points. I don't expect this to continue. I said that last slate, and, he went out there and dropped a 50-burger. But he's shooting incredibly well from the field. I mean, he's shooting like 70% from the field, 80% from 3 last game. He's not going to keep shooting this well. The price tag's up to 8,400. I'm going to let all the fish play TJ Warren. I'm not going to him on DraftKings. I think he's way too expensive. He's just not this productive of a player, and that's really all there is to it. This is a guy that should be around 7K most nights. You're really overpaying him for right now. If you're playing TJ Warren, you're just riding the hot streak at this point. I think the hot streaks, it's going to cool down at some point. He's not going to be a guy that scores 50 DraftKings points every slate. That's just not the player he is. Yahoo, he's actually priced up there. They priced him up to $37. He was $28 on the last slate, and I liked him a lot at that price. But now that he's up to $37, I'm not going to play TJ Warren at $37. I'll let everybody else do that. So that's my thoughts there. And if TJ Warren goes out and scores 50 DraftKings points again, then, we'll move on to the next slate. I don't think he's going to be that popular, though. I think now that the price is coming up, people are definitely going to jump off, which I think is the right thing to do. But other small forwards we can maybe look to. So Michael Porter Jr. has been playing incredibly well as of late. Had a monster game the other day against OKC, and last time I checked, he was having another big game on Wednesday. Getting the minutes right now, getting the opportunity without Will Barton and without Gary Harris. If those guys remain out, which, like I said, I'm assuming they are, I still have a ton of interest in Michael Porter Jr. This is a dude that is incredibly productive when he gets the minutes. I do want to show you guys his numbers this season with all of Gary Harris, Jamal Murray, and Will Barton off the floor. Let me find Will Barton, take him off as well. It is a pretty decent sample size. I think it's like 200 minutes, maybe even more than that. I can't remember, honestly. Oh, so 306 minutes he's played with all of Barton, Harris, and Murray off the floor. Has a 21.8% usage rate and has averaged 1.11 fantasy points per minute. So, he's over a fantasy point per minute player. He's a dude that's going to go out there and just take a ton of shots. If he's making his shots, he's not going to stop shooting. Malone will usually leave him in the game for, a long period of time. He'll play huge minutes if he's playing well. That's always a risk, though. If he's not playing well, Mike Malone will pull him real quick and, put him on the bench, and he'll only play like 25 minutes. But the dude just has so much upside. I'm willing to roster him even at an expensive price, especially against Portland, one of the worst defensive teams in the league, a team that plays at a very fast pace. I do like Michael Porter Jr. a lot on DraftKings. I think on Yahoo, he's like just a lock and load for me. He was like 80% owned on Wednesday's slate, and you kind of had to have him because right now he has like 40 fantasy points. So, he's going to be probably 70, 80% owned again if those guys remain out. And at $14, he's going to be really hard to get away from. He's still way too cheap on Yahoo. So definitely lock in MPJ over there. And even on DraftKings at $6,400, I still think he's a really good play at that price tag. But other small forwards we can maybe look to, Duncan Robinson I like without Jimmy Butler. Cam Johnson, not a productive point per minute player, someone I liked a lot last slate. He got the minutes, though, which I think is something you like to see. He's getting huge minutes right now, 40 and 38 minutes the last 2 games. You don't really know what the production is going to be, what it's going to look like. I think on the season he only averages around 0.8 fantasy points per minute, but he's still 4,900. He's playing nearly 40 minutes a night. I think, if you want to go cheap at small forward, He makes plenty of sense. You could go to Daniel House as well, a guy kind of similar to Cam Johnson, just plays big minutes. Not the most productive point per minute player, but does get plenty of minutes. If Russell Westbrook were to sit, I would assume that is a little bit of a boost for Daniel House, so you could consider him. Gary Trent as well, you can play a small forward. And then you got, the cheap Heat guys you could go to, specifically Andre Iguodala without Jimmy Butler. I do like him as a value, only $3,300. But yeah, I think that's probably it for small forward cheap plays. So let's go ahead and talk about the power forward position now. So at the top here, we got Giannis and AD, 11K and 10,300. Giannis is someone that, I'm kind of worried about right now. He was really limited in their last game against Brooklyn. He only played 16 minutes. He pretty much just played the first half. I don't expect that to be the normal. I think he's going to be back to his full allotment of minutes. But without Jimmy Butler for the Heat, this is definitely a game that could get out of hand, that could get ugly, and we could see Giannis's minutes limited again. Plus, it's not that good of a matchup. Miami's a really good team. I know they did a really good job of slowing down Giannis earlier this season during the regular season. At 11K, I don't think I really need to go to him today. I think there's other guys I'd rather spend my salary on, specifically Anthony Davis. I absolutely love this spot for Anthony Davis. He's definitely one of my favorite pay-up options today. 10,300 on Draftkings. Over on Yahoo, he's expensive, $51, but I think he's worth the price tag here. So we know that Houston is playing small ball right now. They're really not running a true center out there. They're starting PJ Tucker at center. I just don't know if that's going to work against Anthony Davis. We've already seen this once this season. I believe these teams did play earlier during the regular season when the Rockets were running small ball lineups, and it didn't work. Anthony Davis went out there and just went nuclear, played 40 minutes and had 66 Draftkings points, 32 points, 13 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 blocks, 3 steals. Just a really solid game overall. Like I said earlier, this is a back-to-back for the Lakers. I'm going to be interested to see. I'm definitely going to be keeping close eye on the box score for their game against the Thunder. See if these guys play their full minutes. I wouldn't be surprised if they rest one of the two, but they said they're going to play both guys, even on the back-to-back, that both guys are going to play. And I'm pretty sure the Lakers already did just lock up the 1 seed. Even if they lose the rest of their games, they're still going to be the 1 seed. So I guess that's a little bit of a concern, but for now, until we hear otherwise, I'm just assuming AD plays his full minutes. And at 10-3 against this, incredibly small Houston team, we saw what Nurkic did to Houston last night. Big centers that can score and can rebound are going to dominate against Houston, and I think, obviously, AD is one of the best of them. So love him here at 10-3. I definitely think he's one of my favorite pay-up options on the slate. But Yusuf Nurkic, a guy that I do want to talk about as well, just looks so good, man. Through 3 games, coming back from an incredibly bad injury, I think it was a leg injury, an ACL injury, it looked like, I can't remember the video because it was a while back, but I know it was a really scary injury. The dude just looks so good. 33, 32, 29 minutes played, not limited at all, getting huge minutes. They're clearly going to him over Whiteside. 50-plus Draftkings points in 3 straight games. This is the kind of player that Yusuf Nurkic is. This dude can just go out there and just dominate, especially when it comes to fantasy. He's just such a productive player overall. It's a limited sample, but I do want to show you guys his numbers so far this season. 27% usage rate, 1.71 fantasy points per minute. I don't know if that's going to continue. I don't know if he's going to be a 1.7 fantasy point per minute player rest of the season. But this is definitely a guy that can get 50-plus Draftkings points if he's playing 30 minutes. If you watch him play, he's just one of those guys you love to roster for DFS because every time a shot goes up, he's running to the glass to grab a rebound. He's always around the paint, looking for shots, looking for a handoff. This is a guy that I love rostering in DFS. He's just so productive when he's on the floor. 8,900 is an expensive price, but I think Nurkic is a guy that can pay off this price tag now that he's locked into the minutes. I like him a lot on both sides. If we look over on Yahoo, Nurkic is starting to get priced up at $37, but I still think that might be a little bit too cheap now that he's locked into the minutes. I think this is going to be a guy that gives you 40 to 50 fantasy points most nights now that he's playing the minutes. So love Yusuf Nurkic here, playing against his old team, against his old teammate Nikola Jokic. Maybe he has a little bit of revenge on his mind. I like Nurkic a lot. One of my favorite plays on the slate. Dude's just a baller, man. He's so good for fantasy. And yeah, he's just getting the minutes right now, which is really all we can ask for. I thought, when Nurkic came back, I thought they were going to do an even split between him and Whiteside, but, that's not the case. Whiteside's only playing 16 minutes. Nurkic is getting 30, 32 minutes. So, Nurkic is obviously the guy you want to go to in this situation. But other centers that we can maybe look to, So around this price range, Bam Adebayo is definitely an interesting play today. Against the Bucks without Jimmy Butler, I do have a lot of interest in Bam. He looked pretty good last game without Jimmy Butler, played 32 minutes against the Celtics, had 44 DraftKings points. But Bam does see a big spike in usage, a big spike in his production overall with Jimmy Butler off the floor. And he's 7,700 too. Like, he didn't get priced up, for Jimmy potentially being out. They left him at 7,700, so I definitely like Bam quite a bit. If I can try and find the salary to get up to Nurkic, I think I do prefer Nurkic. But Bam is a really good play at 7,700. If I'm not going to Nurkic at the top, he's my next favorite option for sure. DeAndre Ayton, also another guy that just feels a little bit too cheap. 7,200 here against the Pacers. The Pacers are definitely a team you can attack with opposing big men. I think we saw what Joel Embiid did to them the other day. Had like an 80 DraftKings point day. In terms of DVP, I know DVP, some people don't really believe it or look at it, but I'm pretty sure the Pacers are like top 5 in terms of fantasy points allowed to centers. So I do like the spot for DeAndre Ayton. If I can find the salary, I would probably try and get up to Bam, but I think Ayton is definitely in play at 7,200. And then on the other side of that game, I'm pretty sure I've literally recommended Miles Turner every single slate that he's been on, but I just can't get away from him. He's still, too cheap on DraftKings at 6,200. I love the spot here against the Suns. The Suns are not a good defensive team. DeAndre Ayton is not a good defensive center. Really favorable spot here for Miles Turner. And without Domantas Sabonis, he's going to be incredibly productive when he's on the floor. You look at the last 2 games without Sabonis, he's played 33 and 35 minutes, 34 and 36 DraftKings points. This is the kind of production we can expect from Miles Turner. Honestly, I think, he has more upside than this. We've seen that Miles Turner can put up 45, 50 DK points whenever Sabonis is off the floor. His rebounding numbers see a spike. His usage sees a spike. And overall, his fantasy production just sees a spike as well. The minutes are going to be there. The only reason he played 20 minutes against Philly was because he got in foul trouble. If he's not in foul trouble here, he's going to play, 34, 36 minutes. At 6,200, I like him a lot. I still think he's too cheap on DraftKings. If you want to go to him on Yahoo, I do like him over there as well. He's $26. He got priced up a little bit, but you could still argue that's too cheap for a guy that could easily go out there and put up, 40, 45 fantasy points, especially because on Yahoo, blocks are worth 3 points, and we know Miles Turner, one of the best shot blockers in the league. This is a guy that can go out there and get 6 blocks, and you wouldn't be surprised. So, yeah, love his upside. I'm going to keep rostering him. I still think he's too cheap, and hopefully people shy away, especially because we have, other centers to go to. I think Nurkic, Adebayo, Ayton are going to get, a lot of attention. So, someone like Miles Turner might go overlooked, which, I think is definitely a mistake for the upside this guy has. But a couple more plays I want to talk about. So, Kelly Olynyk started last game with Jimmy Butler out. They did a weird lineup. They went with Kendrick Nunn. If I can remember their lineup, I think they went Kendrick Nunn, Duncan Robinson, Bam Adebayo, Kelly Olynyk, and then I can't remember who started at the 3. Let me pull it up real quick. I'll remember when I see it. Jay Crowder. So, yeah, they went with Kendrick Nunn, Robinson, Crowder, Olynyk, and then Bam. Or I think Olynyk actually started at center, but, whatever. But, yeah, he did start last game with Jimmy Butler out. I don't know if they're going to run that same starting lineup out today without Butler. But Kelly Olynyk looked great in that game. 32 minutes played, 41 DraftKings points. Really just did everything. 15 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists, 1 block, 2 steals. He was incredibly productive. This is a guy that can be productive when he gets the minutes. 24, 31, 32 minutes the last 3 games. Just since they've been in the bubble, they've been giving Kelly O minutes. And now that Butler's out, if he's going to start again and play 30 minutes, even at 4,800, I think there's still, upside for Kelly O to go out there and put up 30, 35 DK points easily, and that's really good at 4,800. That's a pretty good return on your price or return on your investment, whatever. So I do like Olynyk quite a bit. I think he's still really cheap on Yahoo. Yeah, he's $15 over here. It just sucks that he's center only on Yahoo, so you will have to use up one of your 2 center spots to play him. But I still like him as a value. I'm assuming he continues to start, and at 4,800, I think there's still definitely upside for him. Then Zach Collins, someone you could go to. He's starting still, playing about 27 to 30 minutes a night, sometimes more, sometimes less, but seems to be locked into at least about 26, 28 minutes. He's still cheap at 4,300. He's not the most productive player, especially playing alongside Lillard and CJ McCollum and Nurkic as well. But the minutes should be there, and he's 4,300, so I don't mind him. I just don't think he's going to be like a core play for me. So we saw Dwight Howard get ruled out on Wednesday. Don't know yet what that's going to, or if that's going to continue into Thursday. We don't know yet if Dwight's going to play Thursday. Me personally, I didn't pivot to JaVale McGee. I didn't go to him, but we'll have to see what he does Thursday. I want to actually check because I think that game's going on right now. Let's just see what McGee's doing so far through that game. Because I'm recording this video at 6:52 Eastern time on Wednesday night, and the Lakers, they're about 4 minutes into the first quarter, so we can't really do too much by this. But yeah, JaVale has an assist through 3 minutes. We'll have to see how many minutes he plays. That's definitely going to be something I keep an eye on. If McGee goes out there and plays like 24 minutes without Dwight Howard, then I'm definitely going to have interest in him at 3,400. This is obviously a game that's probably going to go small, and we're going to see AD play a lot of center. I don't think we're going to see much AD and McGee alongside each other in this game. But if Dwight's out, that makes me feel confident that McGee plays at least a few more minutes, and he's still 3,400. So he's a guy you could look to as a value option. But I think that's it for center, guys. I think we covered everything here. Talked about the whole slate, position by position. I think we broke it all down. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I do appreciate you watching. If you did enjoy, just before you get out of here, make sure you hit that like button down below. Always appreciate the likes, guys. Make sure you hit the subscribe button as well. Click that notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. And if you have not yet, you can follow me on Twitter. That's linked down below in the description at DFS by Noah. You can also check out my Patreon exclusive content, link down below in the description as well. Get access to my articles that I post Monday through Friday. I'll have an article for both MLB and NBA. I pretty much post them every, both sports, Monday through Friday. I give core plays over there every single day, updated core plays. So check out the Patreon, see all that I have to offer. Drop a like, subscribe, and I think that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed.